you very much for the time and the opportunity. I'm absolutely thrilled to be here today to talk to you about the digital traveller in APAC. Travelling is not only what I do in terms of from a professional point of view, I'm also an avid traveller and really passionate about travelling within the region. So it's great to have an opportunity here to be able to share with you a few insights that we're seeing. So in terms of what's happening in this space, since the beginning of our company, users have been turning to Google for all kinds of travel-related questions, from hotels to experiences and flights. And today, this still remains true. But what has changed are the expectations of users in terms of how their travel questions are answered. Today, I want to talk to you about how we're evolving as a company to meet the user's needs, this digital traveller, and also helping travel brands evolve with this very rapidly changing consumer. So first of all, I just want to focus in a little bit on Asia. I mean, we all know that Asia is incredibly important, but today, it's now globally important. In fact, Asia now is home to more than 50% of the global internet users in the world. That's over 2 billion users in this region on the internet. From a digital perspective, digital is becoming increasingly important. In fact, we now see over 45% of spend on digital, which is 5% more than the global average. From an innovations perspective, this is a region where everything's happening. We have over 75 unicorns in Asia alone. That represents a total of 40% of the global value. It's really a hive of activity here. And from travel, I know everyone in this room knows it, but we're an incredibly important region. We are now the largest region globally and have over nearly $500 million in gross bookings. What this means is that the Asian user is now incredibly influential. They're determining what trends take the global stage. In fact, we now have more searches for sushi than sandwiches. We have more searches for Bollywood than Hollywood. And last year, the top 5 mobile games were all created here in Asia. It's an exciting place to be. But what everyone here today wants to know is what's happening with this consumer and how are they changing. The first thing I want to do is highlight the major catalyst for change, and that is the smartphone. Consumers in Southeast Asia, over 90% have a smartphone device, and they're spending an incredible amount of time on this device. The average daily device time on a mobile is 3.6 hours. In markets like Thailand and Indonesia, users are spending over 4 hours a day on this device. What's significant to note for consumers in the room today is that the smartphone has moved from a format. It's now an experience. Many users will only ever experience your brand from this device. And so you need to build for it and recognize the changing behaviors as a result of this device. So let's talk about the customer. They're curious, impatient, and they're demanding. So I was taking my husband through this speech earlier this week, and he highlighted that this sounded awfully like myself. And I have to admit, it does. If I think about my recent journey to Bali, I displayed all these traits. I was incredibly curious when I was making my decision on whether to travel to Ubud or not. I wanted to see all the possible content. I wanted to immerse myself in the experience and take no risks before I traveled. I watched video contents and read reviews. I Google Mapped the distance and transport because I have a little daughter and it was important that we didn't spend too much time in the car. I wanted the information quickly, I wanted it seamlessly, and I wanted to be able to pick up where I left off. It was important that, I was able to, see in real time the pricing and also get a personalized experience. If Singapore Airlines knows that I love a window seat, I want them to remember that. And I'd really like that hotel to remember that I have a toddler and I need that cot and a few extra baby tips for a busy mum once they get to that hotel. So, enough about me. Let's talk a little bit more about the average consumer. So the consumer, they're curious, they want content. What are we seeing on our platforms? We see on our platforms that they're using more and more devices, they're using multiple platforms during their research and planning stage, and often they're using different profiles. They're incredibly curious and they crave information, and we see that. There's been rapid growth on search for terms such as flights. On maps alone, we're seeing huge engagement from a travel perspective, with double-digit year-on-year growth for terms such as hotels. And on YouTube, our video platform, we're seeing triple-digit growth for travel content. I just want to touch on YouTube for a second here because I think this is a platform that advertisers today can really leverage and lean into. What we're seeing from our, a recent study we released with Ipsos is that travelers today who are also avid YouTube users are really good ones for you guys to go after because they spend more and they travel for longer. Let's have a look at the data. The average user will just take 4.4 trips a year, but a highly engaged YouTube user travels around 6 times a year. They also spend more, and as I said, they often stay longer. So really think about that as you're building your content. I want to share a recent case study from one of my partner clients, Airbnb. They recognized this trend and the importance of leveraging the power of video and used our platform to do so, to create some awareness for their brand in a market such as India. If you wouldn't mind just playing their content, please. It was just loading before. You might need to refresh. It's just running off the Wi-Fi. If we can't, it's fine. Okay, all right. Well, even Google has tech problems, it would seem. I will, if people are interested, reach out to me on LinkedIn and I can share the link, but you can also go to Think with Google to see this case study by Airbnb. What I wanted to show to everyone in this room today is really how Airbnb have leveraged video content. What they did for this campaign was use local influencers and build video content that had impact with the local consumer. They also tried a variety of different formats, using long-form format as well as short-form format to engage with the customer. And the results were impressive. I can tell you them. Yeah, thank you. Okay. They saw a 30% view-through rate, and also they saw a 7.5 times increase in brand interest across the campaign period. In a market like India that's incredibly competitive, these are phenomenal results. And it was all by leveraging the trend of the consumer, the fact that they knew their consumer was creating content. So this is a platform in which you guys can play in right now, but I want to touch in on what I see a little bit in terms of the future. And we're seeing that voice will really be the next battleground for brands as the years progress. And that's because consumers are really craving, as I said, content and a conversational experience. And they want to be helped in real time by brands and have information on the go. And we've seen partner clients such as Singapore Airlines really lean into this. In fact, they were a launch partner with us on our Google Home product when we launched in Singapore. And because they understood that it was really important to their customers to be able to get flight information wherever they are and on their go. And they've seen great results due to this integration. Okay, so we've discussed that curious consumer who craves the content across all devices. Let's shift to the impatient one. Unfortunately, I'm very much that customer. The customer wants to be served immediately and seamlessly. And we're seeing that in some of our data today. In fact, we've seen a huge increase in the number of queries in travel related to open now and today. And that's because the consumer today is on this smartphone device and they want information immediately and they want to be empowered. Not only do they want information on the go, but they expect it to be fast. Now, I know there might be some people in this room thinking, I've seen this stat before Google, why are you showing? We get it. But it's important for us to highlight this because it's still very important and we need to see greater change in this space. 53% of users say they will abandon a brand if it takes more than 3 seconds to load. That's a huge miss in opportunity. I also wanted to highlight this because I want to help you and show you how you can innovate in this space. An example I want to share is Malaysia Airlines. On the left is their old site, and on the right is their new. Malaysia Airlines recognized this trend of users leaning into mobile and wanted to capitalize on the traffic that was going on there. They saw that their load time was slower than they would like, and so came to us and partnered with us to develop a new technology and partner when it comes to accelerated mobile pages. This is an open source technology that we provide everyone and really help them reduce their load time. In fact, it reduced by 17%, and they saw 3 times the amount of ticket sales on mobile devices. The data really speaks it for itself. And for all those savvy marketers out there, it's good to know that we also were able to deliver them a higher increase in ROI and a lower cost per booking. So that's smiles all around. So users want things fast, and no exception is the checkout phase. In fact, 70% of users will abandon a site at the checkout point if there are too many steps. So today I just wanted to share with you some innovations that Google are making in this space as we launch Google Pay. This is a 2-step checkout process that's available to all advertisers to integrate onto their platform and really helps ensure the consumer gets that seamless experience they want. You guys as travel brands have done a lot to get to that point, so don't miss out on converting that opportunity by a very slow or clunky experience. So that's curious. We've had impatient. Now let's chat about demanding. Also somewhere I excel. So when we talk about demanding, what we mean here is that the consumer expects information to be relevant to them. And the good news for everyone in this room is that the consumer has shown that they're not only more loyal, 70% in fact of consumers say they're more loyal to brands who offer them a personalized experience, but they're also willing to pay more. So it's a win-win for everyone if you can really get this right. Customers who are getting this right are a brand like Relux in Japan. They're a new travel brand. They understood the trend when it comes to personalization and the need to give that customer that personalized experience across all platforms. They decided to leverage the power of automation and use phenomenal audience targeting to give customers in Japan that highly customized experience. Up here, what you can see is the same search term across 3 users. So on the right, is that gentleman. And he's obviously price savvy. So when he searches best rates on hotel, he got an ad that appeared to him really focusing on the discounts that Relux could offer him. For the woman in the middle, she's more interested in a luxury travel experience. And so Relux took that and really offered them some creative and pricing that would help her in that space. And then finally, we have the woman on the right. She's much more into ryokans. So they focused on this and visualized it and offered them, the user, the creative and the experience they were expecting. And the good thing to know, the creative worked and the results were there. In fact, for Relox, they saw a nearly 20% increase in new memberships, which is phenomenal in a very competitive market like Japan, and also saw a reduced cost per booking cost at nearly 8%. So, when it comes to the user today, travel brands really need to offer users an assistive experience across the dream, plan, book, and experience phase. When it comes to dreaming, make sure that you're comprehensive and you're relevant. The user has zero tolerance for anything but this. Give them suggestions based on their personal need, and please, please, if you remember one thing, make sure the information loads quickly and on mobile. From a planning perspective, make sure you offer a personalization, and please, at least for my sake, make sure you remember where the user left off. It's so important to make sure that your offering and comms are sticky. From a booking perspective, enable one-click bookings. Make sure you integrate payments seamlessly and that they're local and resonate with the local user. And keep track of their present preferences. And finally, in the experience stage, consolidate the information. Always be present and follow up. This customer loves to be engaged with. So, thank you for your time, everyone. And in summary, our 3 takeaways today is that, number 1, the smartphone has fundamentally changed how the user is behaving, and digital travel companies need to adapt accordingly. Number 2, we're seeing great adaptation within the region and best-in-class initiatives across our platform from local advertisers. This is because they recognize the consumer's desire for fast and effective communication that's highly engaging, and also a consumer that demands some personalization. And finally, really work on providing that assistive experience across all 4 stages of travel so that you can win the hearts and minds of the consumer. Thank you.